think I have to.
Bam. Hello. Well, hey, everybody. Well, welcome to the 5, 8 and a half, your midweek break. I'm Nadine Smith. And usually I would tell you I'm here with Lisa Graves, but Lisa is on the road. And I'll give you a quick update about her. But Stephanie, LB, it's great
I'm
to be
here.
in the hot seat with you again.
I love being here with you. I'm happy to see you, Nadine. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I was
Good.
able to share, in the few moments before we started, I'll just give people a glimpse of my my mead stash.
It's amazing. How does it taste?
You know what? It has hints of lavender. You know what? I'm faking it now. This is the first time I've ever made it.
Oh, is it super strong?
It's really nice.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll just be going along, and then suddenly it'll hit you right behind the knees and remind you.
No operating heavy machinery.
Yes.
I don't know if us trying to do this without either Lisa or Greg, because they're the technical people, is operating heavy machinery. It feels like it. Feels like we are.
This is a glass of plausible deniability. That's what I.
There we go.
But yeah, so you know the drill, everybody. 5 stories, 8 minutes, a chance to refuel, and hopefully we slow things down. We know that it is rough out there, but we slow things down so you can have a sip of a nice beverage, reflect, and remember you are not alone. And speaking of not alone, Lisa is not alone. She's out there with her book. And tomorrow she will be at Book Passage in San Francisco at 5:30. That's Pacific time. And I'm going to drop a link just in case any of the folks who are, I think I'm going to drop a link. Any of the folks who are out that way, you get a chance to go see Lisa in person. So yeah, the book is phenomenal, and it has been great to see it taking off the way that it has. So
I know we got all kinds of we got all kinds of heads up about what was in it while she was doing it, as you and I, as it was kind of neat. Yeah, and we were like, oh, this is gonna be a little sneak attack. I thought it was on John Roberts.
It's gonna rattle cages that need rattling. Speaking of cages that need rattling, I think we should start off with the young Republicans.
Oh my.
The leaked racist chat.
Oh my goodness.
So just in case, you were asleep for most of the day, folks, Politico got a hold of 2,900 pages of Telegram messages from Young Republican National Federation, YRNF members. Now, these are the grassroots, state-level leaders, activists, and this was their exchanges between January to about mid-August. So while, Pete Hegseth and, Republicans in the administration were sending military information out on unsecured lines, the next generation of MAGA were posting the ugliest, most blatant, racist, anti-Semitic, misogynistic, violent content, joking about putting political enemies in gas chambers, praising Hitler, jokes about slavery, the most hateful slurs you can imagine about Black people. Rape jokes were very popular
Yeah.
for this group. And what is interesting, okay, so the fallout was immediate, right? So several of the individuals who are tied to those chat posts have lost their jobs, had opportunities taken that were on the table taken away. But we see this happen a lot. It happened with the Doge, incel
Yeah.
who said horrible things, got fired, and then a couple of days later was brought back under the banner of, young people, you can't hold them responsible. You can hold them responsible for running this operation that is gutting the federal government and
Yeah.
decide,
Yeah.
they're plenty ready for that kind of responsibility, but holding them responsible for their reckless language, that's really unfair. And I think the signal that we've gotten, other Republicans have called for their resignation, other young Republicans have, but J.D. Vance, of all people, was immediately on social media saying, "Oh, that's nothing compared to the people who are planning the No Kings
Yeah.
rally. That's nothing compared to the people who are opposing, Charlie Kirk." Basically, he minimized some of the most vile rhetoric you can imagine. So the
Tried
Kansas
and
young
true Kremlin propaganda technique. He's very well versed in this.
that's yeah, sure, they were just kids. They were just kids. If you really
Mhm.
wanna be upset, let us misdirect your attention over here. So the Kansas Young Republican chapter has been made inactive, and usually what happens next is there will be a GoFundMe or some fundraising on behalf of these much maligned young Republicans who were only joking after all, and they've been targeted by the woke mob. Well, just to be clear, it's their own uh, organization that has shut them down. It is their own organization calling for their resignations. But honestly, is anybody even remotely shocked?
No. No one's shocked at this point. We're going on year 8 of this, being out in the open, very much out in the open. It gets more flagrant in terms of um, there can't be now of like before there was dog whistling in the beginning with throughout people in the White House, that the head of the Republican Party, that now president again, would surround himself with, of and even his son coming in. We saw anti-Semitic memes, all this stuff, and then, oh no, that's a sheriff star, and when getting caught. But this is their weird world. This is their hateful, weird little world that they have amongst each other. It is driven, a lot of this sort of color is driven by the youth in there, that they're not so young anymore. In Trump 1.0, it was the uh, the media personalities, some of them aren't with us anymore, that were very young, that were kind of the heads of this movement. It was there's Twinks for Trump, and there was this sort of gaggle of folks. You had a Holocaust denier in there. You had, all kinds of racist, horrible speech. They were getting caught with it. They would call it a joke or irony. It was 4chan, right? 4chan stuff.
Right.
And now it's sort of, morphed into this thing. I want to remind everybody that the young Republicans, that group, are the ones that would host the Proud Boys in Trump 1.0. And remember, there were sort of brawls that would end up in the street. And it was like, okay, who are these, he's sort of, young Nazis running around and beating people up, and and their misogyny and all of this stuff. And well, they were hosted by the young Republicans. So this has just been going on with that particular organization for a very long time. A lot of these young Republicans and folks in that group are staffers. Chuck Grassley had some. I think Mitch McConnell even had some back in 1.0. We were tracking some of the staffers. These were people who would send, they were into all the 4chan stuff, and they knew how to work the social media, which was like wizardry, right, to people like Chuck Grassley and Mitch McConnell. And so they would hire them to be on their social media or be their social media directors, blah, 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 blah. So it's not, for all of the pearl clutching now, that's what's just so disingenuous. They just got caught. It was one of their own that turned over all that stuff, and now they're fighting amongst each other. And, it's just this juvenile stuff, but it's dangerous. You can't play around with this stuff. It's a weapon, and it radicalizes people. They're clearly themselves are steeped in this lore, this Nazi lore. I love Hitler was one of the things, very much like, I know we hear Conley West say that kind of stuff, right? So it's that world. And if you have never looked at it, if you've never seen the Donald on Reddit, or you've not, what people call the dark web, this stuff is like, there's not some dark corner there. It's right there. It's just stuff that, if you're in, Facebook Marketplace, trying to, or you're, however you're in your emails, or you're getting, stuff from Nancy Pelosi, you might not see any of this. But it's not hard to find. It's not cloaked. It's all right there. This was private DM that got leaked, but they say this kind of stuff to one another on all these boards. So we have a real problem. We have a real, real problem. It is very specific to one party. It is. So it's a political problem. And nobody within that party is willing to do anything about it, because these are the people that they courted in order to win.
And these are the messages they use to court them in order to win.
Yeah, these are the messages.
And let's not get hung up on the word young, because these aren't like, these aren't high schoolers.
No.
These, I think it goes all the way up to age 40 or 41 to be
JD Vance. Goes all the way up to it's his generation. Yeah, for
sure. And so the only Vermont Senator Samuel Douglas is the only elected official implicated, and he's facing calls to resign. The Vermont Republican Party has removed him from his duties. But again, on defense, Vice President JD Vance has minimized it as kids doing stupid things. 40-year-olds,
locker room talk.
Doing stupid things over, half a year, and wanted to compare it to the rhetoric from Democrats. So we shall see. There have been calls from various Republican leadership condemning the content, but set your watch, because this is the moment where they begin to twist it into their,
boys
will be boys.
Boys will be boys. But listen, if it
joking around,
I think the only thing that's upset them is that it's not just that this is out in the open and they're caught. It's that there's been a real concerted effort to throw off the Nazi or fascist label and twist and turn that around. Or say, if you call someone a Nazi, remember that whole thing? That's hate speech, and we're going to come after you, and you're just trying to incite violence, and blah, 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 blah. Well, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, if it types like a duck, I should have said.
And if the duck calls itself a Nazi,
if the duck like, we love Hitler, let's put people in gas ovens, I can't wait for that, then, maybe that label is appropriate.
Well, and that's a great segue to our next segment, because, what is interesting is the same people out of one side of their mouth want to tell you that Charlie Kirk was not a racist, that his attacks on what he called moronic Black women, his challenging of credentials, whether it's,
Deans of
on the
universities?
Supreme Court,
Yeah.
Michelle Obama,
Mm.
Kamala Harris, no matter, him basically saying, Black pilots are basically incompetent. These
Yeah.
aren't one-off things that he said. He uses a technique of saying really outrageous things, backing off a little, but then tripling down. He did this with George Floyd, where he spread the misinformation saying, oh, he died of fentanyl, despite the coroner showing very clearly he was killed by police action, then apologized, and then tripled down a year later, even after he knew it wasn't true. But what it does is it allows his supporters to go, oh, he apologized for that. And ignore the fact that this wasn't something that he mused about once. It's something that he said over and over and over again. And the reason, I guarantee if you were to look at the social media of all of those young Republicans in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk, they would have told you, they would have minimized, gone to battle saying he isn't racist, while they were calling Black people monkeys in their
Yeah.
group chat, right? And so now we have the State Department revoking visas over people criticizing Charlie Kirk's message and work. So at least 6 foreign nationals had their U.S. visas revoked for social media comments that were critical of Charlie Kirk after he was killed. So these are foreign nationals from Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Germany, Paraguay, and South Africa. So the State Department basically says that the U.S. is not obliged to host foreigners who express hostility towards Americans. Well, pointing out that Charlie Kirk held, repeated, amplified, and fed that same ecosystem that produced 2,900 pages of hateful DMs is not hostility towards Americans. It's hostility towards racism. And yet the revocation of their visas is just part of this broader campaign that the Trump administration has been executing to police speech, especially speech that's directed at conservative figures. He hasn't said a word about this Republican group attacking Americans.
Marco Rubio?
J.D. Vance, all of them.
Yeah.
And so this is just using the immigration tools to enforce ideological boundaries and censorship.
Yeah, well, it's that dual purpose, right? So, if you're in whatever job anybody's got, they're dual purposing to flip our rights and the culture upside down. Up is down, racism is reverse racism, all of that stuff. It's just so important to them to craft this alternative world. And to do it it's the inside out of it all that is just so, it's not, we were talking before the show of like, I'm not surprised anymore. It's not outrage. I don't have any of that. When people are like, can you believe? And I'm like, come on, where have you been? Are we really going to go through those motions of having to be shocked or stunned or, taken aback? But I am, I guess I'm finding it grotesque. You can still find things grotesque. And one of the grotesque things since Charlie Kirk's murder has been the way that his speech that he died for, as we're being told, he died for his crusade for free speech, as a free speech crusader, that his speech is stifled and buried. You can't talk about what he said. We can't hear his words. We can't have them in print. We can't react to them in any way. We can't have our own. It's all of that is so warped and disturbed, and that anybody covers that man and his life in any way, shape, or form, whether they're martyrizing him, whatever, and doesn't touch on this issue, because that's all his whole thing was. This is it. He was a single issue guy. He was a free speech guy. But he's been silenced, totally silenced. And this is part of that silencing. Like, you can't even bring up what his words are. The State Department will come after you if, under weird guises, if you're bringing any kind of attention whatsoever to the things he actually said.
Well, this is the thing that is such a hypocrisy. It's like, if you buy the myth of him as a free speech advocate,
right,
then you have
and
to
it wasn't
say,
even that, but I'm saying that's what they're
right,
calling.
yeah, that's their story. That's their
what
story. He's a free speech purist who wanted open dialogue and, just wanted to elevate the conversation. Then you go, why are people losing their jobs for quoting him? Why are people losing their jobs for posting clips of him? Why are people losing their jobs for criticizing him? How is that an homage to who you say he is?
That's right.
And if you really wanted to honor his final words and his final actions, he began to speak out very clearly for the release of the Epstein files.
Yeah.
There is, compelling evidence that he was, turning his back on some of his early benefactors. So why not amplify this part of his message? Because it's all a fiction. It's all there's a clip from a what is Rod Serling show? What is it called?
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, right? And it features basically American Nazis organizing in support of Hitler, which did happen. And
sure, I wrote about that a lot. Yeah.
Yes, and the footage from Madison Square Gardens. But one of the things they said is there's somebody advising the head American Nazi, played by Dennis Hopper, from the shadows, and they say, now you need a martyr. And he's like, well, where am I going to get a martyr? And said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you get him. All that matters is the mythology that you put around him. And this is what we're witnessing, this absolute phony rewriting of, of somebody whose words and deeds we can look at ourselves in real time and go, no, that's not out of context. The number of times I've had to say to people who are going, oh, you're taking his comments about this out of context. Provide me the context, please. I'm waiting. And they can't, because the context is exactly what it is.
Exactly what it is. And again, he died for this violent death. Like, it's such a, it just feels like, and I'm not championing him. I get very disturbed by violence, and especially someone losing their life, and you're going to disgrace him further by erasing his words. It's just,
this is the irony.
It's grotesque. Again, grotesque.
Are more faithful to his words than he is, than his supporters. And that is a weird juxtaposition.
It's something else, And they can't handle it. They just can't handle it. They can't, that party, those political leaders and that movement cannot handle their own shit.
Yep. Well, which speaking of censorship and purging memories, we are seeing right now the Trump has announced as the as Republicans led the government shutdown, that he was going to use this shutdown to dismantle what he called democratic programs within the government. And his first target, well, I shouldn't even call it the first target since Doge went hammering tongs at so many things, but he used the shutdown to launch a purge of somewhere between, I think I saw two different numbers. I saw 600, and then I heard 1,300 CDC employees who received termination or reduction in force notices immediately as the shutdown began. And over half of those notices, about 700 were later rescinded. But that means that there are still 600 CDC employees that have been fired. And I mean, just to understand the offices that are being hit, this is disease surveillance, the folks who are the early warning system before, something horrible, begins to rocket through the population, injury prevention, chronic disease programs. And those are functions that can't easily stop without immediate public harm. And they were trying to say that the first bigger wave of terminations were sent in error. It was just something that, was a glitch, but people inside the agency said this move was basically to test how much we would allow them to do. And it was only in a huge backlash that they reinstated 700 of the folks who got those notices.
Yeah, listen, this is one of those things where back when sort of the plans became clear. I mean, not that we didn't have Project 2025 and it was clear for those of us who bothered to read it, and everybody was trying to raise alarms that had read it. And it's like, this is crazy. This is what they're going to do. Oh, no, we got gaslit. Oh, he doesn't, Trump doesn't, blah, blah. And then of course it's happening. But back when it was just sort of the first glimpse of destruction, right? Of the Doge and the destruction early on, this is just a continuation of. I had a conversation with somebody of like, and they're like, and I said, wait, something, I can't remember what RFK was doing, but something, National Institutes of Health, maybe that was under attack. And this person said to me, a very educated husband, works in the realm of political funding for like a whole thing, right? In education, the whole thing. And said, oh, well, I think there's more pressing things at the moment. I said, then whether or not your kid dies, right? Or whether or not you die, right? It's just like, there's nothing more pressing than public health. There just isn't. And if we are not present to that, the moment that you are, that everybody becomes present to it, we've been present to it before in recent memory, the moment everyone becomes present to it again and starts to really get this, it is way too late. Way too late. So this is so dangerous. By the way, I did hear that the president went just a few days ago and got his COVID vaccine and all of his flu shots. And
all these guys have them.
Oh,
DeSantis, all of his rich buddies, they all got it before the rest of us. They made sure that they got it. This isn't for the masses.
And now we don't get it anymore, and everybody, but they're going to get it. It's another grotesqueness. The whole thing is so gross.
Well, this is, they're politicizing science because it is a scapegoat, and it feeds into a conspiracy theory mindset that they need people to be perpetually in, right?
Yeah.
And you see people doing TikToks and YouTubes, going down grocery aisles going, look what they've got in, did you know that there's metal inside your cereal? It's like, yes, iron is actually iron. Like, the speed with which they embrace any conspiracy theory
Yeah.
is part of how they keep people in this kind of off-kilter, fearful, angry discombobulation that allows them to go, "Oh, you know who the problem is? It's Fauci. Do you know that they're tricking you? Do they know?" But
Yeah.
again, this is about control over competence. It doesn't, if you just imagine you work at the CDC and you got a termination notice, and then there's a big outcry and they go, oh, our bad, that was a glitch. Do you want to go back to that job? I guarantee your resume is out there for a new position, because who wants to work there? So
Well,
it's,
plus, I want to say our public health, we had extraordinary expertise in public health. We led the world. We did. And it was, it's easier to get drugs going. And even in other Western nations, it's not just because of socialized medicine, it's cheaper. It's that they didn't have the regulatory sort of hurdles that we did. My husband's family was in all this. So it's, I know how difficult it is to get from a biodevice to a pharmaceutical passed and approved through our regulatory process, which was getting shrunk, by the way. It was becoming smaller and smaller in terms of the workforce, not expanding. It should have been expanding, but that whole understanding and education around what public health is and the public health expertise for the American general public, there's an ignorance there that allows that sort of paranoia and fear to be stoked and fester and grow. I always say to people who are kind of in that or express them, I'm like, be a little bit mindful about some of the things you're saying out loud, because it's betraying maybe that you're not educated. And I don't have a problem saying that to people, and I probably become a pariah, but I'm coming from a genuine place of like, you actually are exposing an ignorance here that I don't think you want exposed. And I don't think you understand you even are espousing it. So, there's textbooks, there's classes you can take. Maybe we're seeing that you don't have an education, and maybe you don't want people seeing that. So, anybody who's literally informed in a very basic level about what public health is and how how the institutions operate and what they're there for and how they help us and how disease spreads, all this kind of stuff, why we need the folks that go out and the investigators. They got rid of all the investigators who are out there when you do have let's Ebola, anything sort of starts to grow or fester, they can track it down. No, find patient zero. Come on, there are at least some movies people can watch to understand how important the investigators are and how they put their lives on the line. Those people are all gone. So we won't know where something started, how it came in, how it's spreading, what the R naught is. That's crazy. So that's one thing. On the other side of that is, yes, those people are the folks that are the investigators, that are the experts, that do have all this knowledge, that are Americans, are the best in the world at what they do. You think that they're not going to get snatched up by some other nation to work there and actually bring their expertise? If I had that expertise at that level and I had an opportunity at this moment to go live in, I don't know, some fabulous European city, I would jump on it.
Yeah. Well, and we've seen this before. Germany lost so much of its intellectual capital.
Yeah.
As Hitler came to power. Brilliant minds who fled.
Yeah.
And America's place in the world was accelerated by the infusion of those brilliant minds. And right now, as they go after not just public health, but public education, they dismantle our educational institutions and strip them for parts. The voucher system is it's a fraud. It allows you to take public education dollars and give it to private, unregulated, conservative.
Most of it whack-a-doo-doo, not based on anything but
and
garbage.
where they're teaching creationism. Anyway, so, it is just a complete dismantling of
Yeah.
what ought to be a star in the constellation of what makes a democracy. And unfortunately, what always happens is they break things that gets to the place where there's a snapback. They go too far. The American people, push them out, and then another party comes in and tries to fix it. And once it's and the next DeSantis won't carry the shame of having broken public education in America because he's term limited out, but his successor will, and it'll take a generation to fix what he's broken. And so this is the infuriating game that we play in American politics. And this time, though, they have broken things in a way that it's not just one more term that will turn it around.
No.
Yeah, and I want to say this about conspiracy theories. I see people talking about Candace Owen and the Charlie Kirk assassination in our chat, and the various rabbit holes. I mean, it's interesting because the conspiracy theory monster that they've created is starting to devour them from within. But
as it does,
as it always does, right? The never Trumper Republicans just thought they had the monster on a leash, and they didn't. They were happy to have the monster out there, doing what it did to bring them to power. But when it turned on its master, suddenly they were like, "Oops, never Trumper, Purple Party." But they take a kernel of a thing that is true. Like, it's not reckless to have questions about big pharma. It's not reckless to have questions about different aspects of,
government
the making
waste
of our food, right? But they take the kernel of a thing that a responsible person might examine and blow it completely out of proportion. So much so that the same people that want to say, do you know what's in the vaccine? And yet we'll buy oils and potions online from, people that haven't been tested at all. They just spin a good yarn. So we're in this very dangerous place where expertise itself is considered anathema. And
it's maybe the snake oil era. Maybe
it really is. It is the snake oil era.
Call it the snake oil era. Generation snake oil.
Generation snake oil.
We're out of letters. We'll just put words together now. Oh, Nadine.
I know. We'll get to some good stuff. We'll get to some good stuff here.
Oh my God. Well, here, can we move to the next topic? Because you were talking to me about this next topic, and I know nothing about it. I said I know nothing about it. So I kind of want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What is going on in Florida with your grocery stores? What is happening? It's like
what is going on in Florida is a T-shirt that I just ought to wear. Well, it is a prelude to what's going to be going on elsewhere, so I might as well talk about it. But I here's the picture I want to paint for everyone. Imagine you were in the grocery store. You are heading down the ice cream aisle. You're looking for a frozen treat for dinner, and you look up and you see a man with a rifle walking in your direction. In the state of Florida, because of a judge's ruling, open carry is now legal in the state of Florida.
No age limit? Is it still no age limit?
18. You have to be 18 years old. They lowered it from 21 to purchase a firearm. But you can open carry, whether it's a handgun, whether it's a long gun, you can open carry. Now, private companies have the right to say, you can't bring that firearm in my business.
Okay.
And almost all of the grocery stores have said, absolutely not. We care about the safety of our customers, and you cannot open carry in our store. And if you think about it, the difference between if you see somebody walking down that aisle towards you with a long gun, you have to decide, is that a law-abiding citizen also looking for a delicious dessert? Or is that a guy who just got dumped by
Is that a mass shooter? Yeah.
his girlfriend who works here? You know, is this a mass shooter? And now I've got to
Mhm.
figure out which exit, you know? And so in the millisecond you have to decide, Publix is perfectly fine with you living with that level of fear in a state that also has a stand your ground law, which
Mm.
means that your fear is your protection. Like
Right.
the all you have to
If I
do.
if I hold up the wrong box of cereal, that person can say, "I scared them with the Count Chocula. I got it. They gotta take me down."
I was triggered, and all they have to do is make sure that they believe, in this light, I thought they had a gun. I thought they were drawing down on me. And we've seen this in a
Yeah.
Walmart where a guy picked up a pellet gun, you know, that he was contemplating purchasing. He ended up getting shot, because he was considered menacing people with a rifle, even though the video showed no such thing has happened.
So what's the grocery store
It's
that
Publix. Oh, have I not said
I
Publix?
don't think you said
Publix.
Publix. Okay,
Publix
Publix.
is associated with Florida, in a way that it is almost synonymous with Florida. It's a
And did
massive.
it isn't it's an heiress that a woman that's that right? And didn't she
Yes, they
support Jenny Thomas and J6?
helped fund the January 6th insurrection.
There we
Absolutely.
go.
And so, so following this court decision, Public announced that customers can now openly carry firearms in all of their stores. Now, what they have also said is you can't open carry at our headquarters. You can't open carry where our executives work. You cannot open carry in the places where we will be vulnerable. But yeah, you can open carry in the stores. No big deal. Right. And so, there's, Publix has said, well, listen, we're going to, if anybody's being shady, we'll intervene. What the hell does that mean? What is it to be shady? If you're walking around, buying
What do they
pastries,
mean they'll intervene? Do they have is the National Guard in Publix now? What's happening? What what do
you
they
know,
mean?
the normalizing of armed public spaces,
Mm,
you know, especially when grocery stores have been targeted for mass shootings. Um, you
yeah.
know, it is a trick. Think of your own grocery store. If you're in the back of the store, where's your escape route? Where's the exit? Um, and it just creates this environment where if you see somebody with a gun and you have a gun, at what point do you decide, hey, I don't like the look of that guy? Um, and so it just risks escalation, accidental discharge, intimidation. Retail workers, often lower wage folks, often people of color, suddenly you're going to deal with customers uh, who are
Well,
irate and armed.
what are some of the other grocery stores in Florida that people in Florida can go to rather than a Publix?
Yeah, all of them. All of them have, like, Aldi, Winn-Dixie. I think it is just Publix and Fresh Market that have said, "Yeah, bring your guns."
Yeah,
Um,
so
yeah, and
God, I
so
mean, I
people.
wouldn't go in those stores, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely not. In fact, there are
I
people who
mean,
are
you can
saying,
Instacart it. I don't know.
"I wouldn't give them a penny."
Mhm.
There's a lot of people. I mean, again, Publix and love for Publix is just kind of bred into you if you're a Floridian, but
Okay.
the number of people who are writing to Publix and saying, "I'm not bringing my kids into a store where you are okay inviting people to be armed in public." It's not happening. Um, Somebody sent me a sticker that they were going to go into Publix and leave, a cart full of groceries with a sticker that just said, "I don't feel safe here anymore. This is on you." But yeah,
Nice.
it is not normal. It is not
No.
healthy, and it is not safe to create an environment where in these public spaces, you don't just get to react to someone having a gun the way all of us would naturally react, because now you're supposed to, in the matter of microseconds, determine that, oh, this is just somebody who for some weird reason can't go to the store without their rifle on them, or this is somebody who is about to start spraying this store with with uh with rounds that I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to My kids are not safe here. I'm not safe here.
Mm.
So again, the same people who have allowed this to become the policy in their own stores would absolutely have you arrested if you stop by their headquarters with that same rifle on your back. They would not let you into their headquarters. They would not let you into the building, and they would call the police if you tried to enter those premises for the precise same reason they should not put their workers and their customers in the same position.
It's one of those things that's a little baffling, because I think it's, again, like the young Republicans, you know, and that whole party, just people who are so drenched in their own version of the culture that decision somehow felt like a sound business decision. There starts to become a point where, for me, I look at something like this and I'm like, under what reality would a decision maker make that decision in the name of business, of good business? So I don't know if they thought, okay, there's enough in Florida, this will sort of attract. Are they trying to go for a market share of people who feel like they have to have of amosexuals? Are they missing out on the amosexual demographic? Like, what's the demo that
Yeah,
you're
no,
going for with this that
yeah.
justifies losing moms and kids from grocery stores?
Yeah, I think they have so aligned their brand with Trump and the MAGA world
Yeah,
that they don't know how to get,
yeah.
you know,
They can't see
they
the forest through the trees.
yeah.
You're canceling yourself.
Well,
Nobody These
listen,
are self-inflicted things,
they
you know?
are, and, again, we have seen where open carry has created the flashpoint.
Hmm,
Regardless of whether that person had ill intent, them carrying and somebody else carrying created circumstances where they end up opening fire on each other. Um,
yeah.
and if you are so fearful all the time, if your identity is so tied up in constantly being armed, uh, you have a mindset that everything is dangerous, that trouble lurks at every corner, and you run into somebody else who's armed, and maybe you don't like their race, maybe you don't like their accent, maybe you don't like, the rainbow t-shirt they're wearing, and you assume that they present a threat to you. All of these things that happen in a microsecond are the judgments that will put all of us in that same place at risk. So,
Yeah, I listen, it's gonna take, it's horrible, but you could see the writing on the wall with this, really. The future is easy to see. There's gonna be a toddler in a groceries cart. Um, so
yeah,
catches this, and then it's,
yeah.
terrible.
I won't set foot in a Publix, and I know a lot of longtime shoppers that aren't gonna set foot in a
Yeah.
Publix,
No, no, no,
and,
I would never put my life like that for
yeah.
a grocery store, like,
Well,
that
speaking of gun lovers, amosexuals, as you said,
Oh, okay,
that takes us
yes.
to our next topic. And this one, I said there was some good news coming.
Okay, good. We need it.
But, I mean, Publix in the wake of the Parkland school shooting went, really, like they said they would stop funding candidates who took money from the NRA. They did all of these things under public pressure, as such a big voice in Florida politics.
Florida. Okay.
And what is clear is they only did what public pressure required of them. And now their true colors are shining through. But this this mindset of, hey, mass shootings are just part of the world we live in. There's nothing you can do about them. This is one of Charlie Kirk's last public statements was when he was asked about, Uvalde and all of these mass shootings. And he basically said, that's the price you have to pay. That's what it takes for us to hold on to our precious Second Amendment right. And so the good news, what is the good news? Alex Jones, as many people know, became not just a supporter of the Second Amendment, but an actual mass shooting denier. He was one of the early purveyors of this bizarre, twisted, and evil theory of they called them, crisis actors.
Crisis actors instead of the children that were slaughtered, that no kids died. It was this whole thing. Right. Like, don't look, no, that doesn't happen. That's not real. Right. This is all this thing over here.
Sandy Hook
was panic.
Real.
Yeah.
Yep. Those kids didn't die. This was a false flag. This was an operation to undermine support for the Second Amendment.
Right.
And he had this massive base. And not only were people
and he got sued.
What's that? Well, not only were people buying into this absolutely shockingly absurd theory, but they began to harass the parents, already traumatized by the brutal, violent death of their kids, were being taunted by Alex Jones and his followers for years. And finally they sued him. And so the parents argued, what's that? Yeah, the parents sued, and they got a massive judgment.
Yes, they did.
And they have been working to get it enforced. So, this is, I believe the judgment was for $1.4 billion. It was a defamation judgment awarded to the Sandy Hook victims' families. And he has been fighting this. He's been appealing. He's been fighting it the whole way. But, we have to think of this as a win against misinformation and harm. And I remember in the aftermath of Pulse, because of Alex Jones, Equality Florida, the organization I work for, we were getting calls from people saying, oh, these are crisis actors, and showing pictures of people that we knew and saying, oh, yeah, that's not a real person. This is, and with absolute confidence. There was a YouTube video of them illegally recording a conversation with our receptionist where they're just saying, yeah, this didn't happen. This is completely fabricated. So this, you can be a free speech supporter, but this goes beyond. This is weaponizing these sick theories in order to encourage people to harass grieving parents. So for his efforts to be struck down, for him to be on the hook for $1.4 billion, is a rare bit of good news in a landscape.
So what happened was the courts upheld. He appealed it, or he's fighting it, and it was upheld that he actually has to pay this judgment. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're They've been looking for a way to enforce this judgment, and Alex Jones is a particularly vile creature on the internet because he's one of the early people who realized that you could monetize these outrageous conspiracy theories, that you could sort of draw people into this sense that they were on the inside of a bigger story that was unraveling. And, as grotesque as he is as an individual, he knew how to play on that.
He did. And, and it's not harmless. It's very damaging, but it's not out of reach of the folks that actually are now back in power. And, he was a big advisor to Donald Trump in the first term. He gave speeches on January 5th, the night before January 6th. He helped gather that crowd. He was tied into those crowds. He actually, in some of the footage that there was when, the people that were some of the organizers that were Proud Boys or Oath Keepers were talking about what they were going to do. And I think Ali Akbar, or whatever he was at that time, Alex Jones was like, well, we don't want to do that. Like, he was like, he could even be a voice of reason in that craziness. That's how crazy that group is. And it was from InfoWars that we got Marjorie Taylor Greene. It was she came out of a subset kind of media property that his company had. And one of the first things that she did when she was either running for Congress or she had gotten her seat was to chase David Hogg around because she knew who he was, and call out Fred Gutenberg because she knew who these people were, and harass. So harassing victims or survivors of mass shootings is sort of was on brand for Alex Jones and what he spawned, while also being part and parcel of helping to foment a violent insurrection. So, and then make the claims, I think his ex-wife even found a Russian passport of his at some point and published that. Pretty certain of it, actually. So these folks, like the Alex Joneses that rise to get their big followings and yes, it's weaponized speech. It's propaganda is what it is. It's there to, in the case of something like Sandy Hook, he's there to make sure that the cognitive dissonance that people would be having that might be First Amendment or Second Amendment, gung-ho entrenched in the party. When something like Sandy Hook happened, we had a lot of people cutting up their NRA cards because the NRA decided to triple down. Yeah, that was still when we had Lafayette, wasn't that his name? Who also had... Did he also have a Russian passport? I don't know. He got money, and they were involved with Cambridge Analytica and all of that kind of stuff. So, it is all part of that fifth column move on the United States to fracture and destabilize us.
Yes.
These folks.
Chaos agents.
Okay. Yeah. And so there's a lot of projection going on in there as well. But mostly it's just when something has an event, even a tragedy, something as tragic as Sandy Hook, is the kind of real event that can shake through the discourse, reach people, and wake them up. Yeah. Sometimes it's a glorious, civil rights leader like Martin Luther King that just breaks through everything and wakes people up. Sometimes it's a horrible tragedy that has a chance to for Americans to come together and actually make change happen for the better, and not keep us shooting up at one another and sick and all these other things we've talked about just even on this show that are all economic destabilization, all of this stuff that's out there to make us weak and topple us. There are events that break through that could bring us together, and Alex Jones surfaced in that moment to make sure that we couldn't, that we didn't, that that event should have been the event that actually turned the tide on how we interpret the Second Amendment in this nation. And instead, he was instrumental in tripling down and making it worse for us. And we to get us to a point to where there is a long gun in a Publix, right? Of just walking around with toddlers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is such an excellent point, Stephanie.
This is what it is. So listen, we are now probably way past the point of no return on these things. I'm not trying to be hopeless about it, but the fewer Alex Joneses out there, the better for us, even if we have to live through more tragedy to get to a point to where we can come together. I am hoping that he actually has to pay. Because I do think that with a lot of these people, and even these young Republicans in those chats, you can say, yeah, these are, people who are sort of true believers and all that. But really, they all just want what Charlie Kirk achieved, which is become a multi-millionaire off of this gig of being a hate capitalist.
Yeah. No, and you can see all of them auditioning to replace him right now.
Yeah.
And in the same vein where he was selected by a multimillionaire, this isn't some organic movement.
It's not organic.
Him to travel around. But I think this point that you're making, like Sandy Hook should have been the last one.
Yeah.
That should have pricked our conscience.
I honestly think it would have if it wasn't for even the NRA's doubling down. There was huge, people were like, whoa, we can't be part of this. We can't. This is not young sons and their dads going out and learning how to hunt anymore. This is not that. This is and Alex Jones was thwarted that. So that $1.4 billion is a drop in the bucket when you consider that yes, those families are the real victims. Yeah. And the secondary victims is our society at large.
Well, I think that what it will take for us, what they want is to normalize our terror at all times, right? Alex Jones was about making a very simple narrative that the unfettered access to guns had deadly consequences for the most innocent people in our society, and that we can do better. But he helped to make things murky and leave people in a state of uncertainty that maybe I don't have the full picture, right? I mean, it doesn't take much for people to shift. And I think that part of what our challenge is right now is actually to stand up for the idea that truth matters, that seeking truth actually matters, and standing up on principles and not being so nihilistic and cynical and fearful at all times is a really important thing to cultivate in ourselves, precisely because of the Alex Joneses in the world. Yeah. So before we go, as you know, we end always with the glass half full.
Glass half full. I made it.
Yes, and I'm going to go ahead and break into my homemade mead stash stored in a spaghetti jar.
Nice.
So that I can have I think the glass has to at least be half full. I think I got there.
Good.
But again, we do this. We certainly have not ignored what's broken, but it is important that we remind ourselves of what's still beautiful, still bold, still possible. And tonight we're going to end with a story about the No Kings movement. And it is, once again, folks may recall that the No Kings movement became the largest mass mobilization in the nation's history. And now the second one, which is scheduled for October 18th. So it's just 3 days away. Saturday coming up. And it is a day of protest against everything that you were seeing. Trump's power grab, his threats to democracy, the attacks on cities, the weaponizing of the U.S. military and pointing them at American cities, the suppression of dissent, the amplification of inequality, all of those things. People are taking to the streets, Right now, over 2,500 events are planned across all 50 states. There's still time to find the one closest to you. Whether you're in Denver or, St. Petersburg, this is a nonviolent movement. There's trainings in Know Your Rights. You can find the No Kings demonstration online, and massive resistance. It's a signal. This is a coordinated show of force, of nonviolent presence that is not just confined to major cities. So, it is important that we not allow this normalization of these things that are happening.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I love the most is how creative the resistance has become. Everyone has seen the frogs give me
Yeah.
right? But there's a word for this, and it's called tactical frivolity. And it's about piercing, they want us to meet their camo vested, armed, tough guy act with more of the same. And
we should all show up as Monty Python characters.
I mean, but
the French guy.
Yeah, there's a long history throughout time. Throughout different civilizations of just kind of thumbing our noses at them in a way that kind of demystifies and leaves them, not really sure how to react. How do you react to three frogs singing to you on the streets of Portland?
I know. Was it Hong Kong? Who recently? Now I can't remember. They did. They showed up with lights, like beautiful lights, and they made art. They used the mass crowds with the light. It was like a lavender thing, and they would put on a light show as a crowd, and it's like it so clearly was peaceful, and it was about something beautiful at the same time, and creating beauty together as sort of like a public art experience as part of the protest. And it was so effective. So there's stuff like that in our future. We can maybe get a little, it's great to organize, and this is organized, and people can show up, and there's speeches and, and all of that. I'm not saying that isn't well organized. I just think you're right of like, even with that, there's somewhere to go with it that will keep elevating it to make it really clear with in the contrast of not only are we peaceful, we're artists. And if you attack beauty itself, it's going to be real clear to anybody watching that what's transpiring.
Yeah.
That's an easy side to pick. Even for the folks that kind of are in the camp, it's like, well, why are you beating up on those, on grandmas?
How are you going to feel when you're
knitting? Grandmother's knitting. You're going to, that's anti.
These images are indelible, a man standing in front of a tank in Tiananmen Square, a flower being handed to a National Guardsman. These moments all across the world where the contrast calls a question in the body politic, like which side of this equation are you standing on? And so on October 18th, we all have the opportunity to stand together in a protest that can break records and remind them that we are not normalizing these attacks. We will continue to stand up. We are unbowed, unbroken. We are here to fight back with a better vision of a world where you can have fun. And my God, Mike Johnson is terrified of the naked bike protest in Portland. I don't know if you saw that, but he gave this speech. He was like, and they're going to be naked on bikes.
He can't stop thinking about it.
Can't think of anything more disturbing than that. And I just remember thinking, yes, naked, consensual adults. You probably don't have a whole lot of experience with any of those. So yes, so take to the streets, be creative, and let them know we are not afraid.
No, bring your daisy, your flowers, your frogs, and your lavender lights.
Bring your frogs and your lavender lights. Yes, we take inspiration from everywhere. So we lift our glass and we salute. No kings in America.
No kings. Nadine, it was wonderful being with you tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for making space for the 5, 8 and a half midweek breather. We hope that we ended on a note that left you feeling like you're not alone. That was our whole goal. And be sure to tune in on Friday at 8, where you will get to hang out with Stephanie again and Greg Oliar. But take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we will see you next Wednesday at 8 Eastern. Good night, everybody.